Lee Hinson, President and Founder of Agile Dad, and it's time for today's episode of the Daily Stand Up. So, without any further ado, let's get started. Today, I wanted to do another review of what I consider to be a super cool article. Now, this article was published by Scrumpy Dad, no relation to Agile Dad, back in 2019. So, it's an older article, but I love this article so much that I want to read part of it to you. It is that good. It's called A Scrum Master Strategy for Focusing a Scattered Mind. Now, I love, love, love where this is going. So please hang in there and bear with because I am going to read a little bit to you. It says, if you're feeling overwhelmed, this powerful exercise shows you where you can spend or should spend your time and energy. And he goes on to describe, a while back, I noticed that my teenage daughter was overwhelmed by everything she had on her plate. Moving out on her own for the first time, applying to internships, searching for a part-time job, staying on top of her health, maintaining her social life. While she has always been very disciplined, all of these activities were competing for her attention, and she was struggling to find the right balance. It was quickly discovered she wasn't getting enough sleep, and it began to affect her physical and mental well-being. Let me pause there for a second. I have 4 children. My youngest is 13, my oldest is 21. This is exactly where I am in my life, right? I see this more often, especially with teenagers today, where there's this struggle, and it's true because there's just so much pressure on them to do amazing things. Let's see where Scrumpy Dad takes it, right? He goes on. It hurts me to see one of my kids struggling. I wanted to help my daughter without telling her what to do, because when you tell them what to do, they're not going to listen anyway, right? She's in the process of becoming an adult, but you still want to offer your help. I wanted to teach her how to manage multiple tasks, a skill that she would have and use for the rest of her life. Let me tell you something. As Agile Dad, I couldn't agree more. I always try to teach my kids, whether it's directly or indirectly, how to manage everything they need to do. But oftentimes I wind up with a Kanban board and sticky notes and I'm like, Dad, you're doing your job. You're not helping me. I'm like, whoops. And it's kind of funny because Scrumpy Dad goes on to say this. Here we go. He says, in my job as a Scrum Master, I guide teams in understanding their priorities so they can find focus. I thought back on all the exercises and interventions I've used in my work and eventually landed on one that I thought would really help my daughter sort out her scattered thoughts. Now, confession. Up until this point, I had never heard of this term before, but I guarantee I'm going to use it again. Here we go. It's called the WADE matrix, W-A-D-E. WADE stands for what, analog, digital, and execute. It was also the name of the creator, Derek Wade, which is interesting. So with that being said, the WADE the WADE matrix is a visual tool. Matrix is a visual tool that lets you see everything that's on your mind. And helps you identify where you should focus your time and energy. If you're feeling overwhelmed, it'll reveal the steps you should take to get back to clarity. My daughter has become somewhat used to Dad bringing up Scrum techniques and taking work home with him. I resemble that. So she was open to trying to exercise when I told her about it, and here's how it's done. So for preparation, to use the WADE matrix, you need a pen, a stack of Post-its, which should be easy for us to find, right? Enough to capture all that's going on inside one's mind, and some wall or floor space to stick them on. We have a giant cupboard in his house that he sticks them on in the living room that fit the purpose quite well. For me, I have a nice wall, right? And I have little glass whiteboards on the wall. So we start with what? Gathering data. To begin, I asked my daughter to write down everything she had going on in her life, but only one item per Post-it note. This was a great way for her to empty out her head, to empty out everything that was inside of it. She jotted down all types of things like going to the gym, quitting current job, looking for a new job, fixing my resume, finding a boyfriend. I quickly got rid of that stick. No, I'm kidding. But the end result was an impressive cloud of Post-it notes that were all stuck on the wall. Yes. Step 2 is analog, or relative weighting. Next, on the left side of the wall, I created a vertical axis, essentially a straight line with arrows on each side. At the bottom of the axis, I wrote going well, and at the top I wrote going bad. You could write not going so well if you prefer, but however you want it to go. I asked my daughter to arrange the Post-it notes vertically based on these two opposites. Things in her life that were going well should be placed at the bottom. Things that were going poorly should be situated near the top. Everything else should go somewhere in between. She didn't have to create a perfect representation of her life, but I wanted to create some relative weighting around these to help you make better choices. I love it. Next, I created a horizontal axis at the bottom of the board. And on the very left, I wrote things I can control. And on the right, I wrote things I can't control. I then told my daughter to align the post-it notes horizontally, leaving them where they were vertically, based on the level of control she had over the issues. Each post-it's vertical position was to remain unchanged during the exercise. After moving the first few to the left, my daughter started to realize what was happening. I see what's happening, she mumbled. What's on the left are things I can take care of myself. Ding, ding, ding. So the next step was digital. It had to do with categorizing. Finally, I took the entire area and I divided it into a giant 2x2 grid. I categorized each of the 4 quadrants like this. Top left was go fix. Top right was accept or ask help. Bottom left was keep it up. And bottom right was thanks. And it was time for the final step, to take action. Looking at the chart, my daughter immediately relaxed. She understood what the quadrants meant. The go fix box was filled with things she should devote her time and energy to. There weren't a huge number of items in a quadrant, at least compared to the number of anxieties she had sorely to her mind at the beginning of the exercise. This settled her quite a bit. Next, we look at the accept or ask for help quadrant, filled with things that were going poorly and outside of her realm of control. For each item, she had to make a decision. She could either accept the reality of where it was and let it go, or she could seek help from someone and make it better. One post in that quadrant contained her worry about what other people thought of her. When she realized that she had no control over this, the burden seemed to be lifted. She told me that she wanted to let this one go and focus on feeling good about herself. I was truly touched when she shared this revelation with me. This is perfect. My goodness. I couldn't think of a more smart way to do this. This is incredible. The lower 2 quadrants were filled with things that were going well in her life. It was good for her to see how much was actually working for her. For the areas in which she had some control, like her friendships, she committed to keeping up her routines. For those that were out of her reach, she could simply feel grateful and move on. As a father, I was made happy to see my daughter finally relaxing. I plan to share the Wade Matrix whenever someone close to me tells me life is starting to feel unmanageable. It's freeing to view the contents of your mind right in front of you. You can see what's in your hands and even more powerfully, what's not in your hands. Scrumpy Dad, if I knew who you were, I would tell you. This is awesome. This is really well put together. I am quite impressed with what you have here. And honestly, I could see this applying not just in personal life, but I could see it applying in professional life as well. And I see the tie together. And I think too many teams and too many organizations worry about things that are outside of their control instead of focusing on the things that they can control. This is a great retrospective exercise. I'm probably going to try to capture this image as well and get it up there, but I love the Wade model. I love it, love it, love it. So it's what, analog, digital, and execute. We'll talk more about those later, but as always, I encourage you, if you have a topic that you want to talk about, if you want to learn more about this, ping us at Agile Dad. We'd love to learn more from you and hear what you want to talk about on the Daily Stand-Up Podcast. And as always, we encourage you to stay healthy, stay well, and stay agile, my friends. Until next time, do take care.